Hi everyone, I'm Doug from DigiPen in Redmond. In this video, we'll talk about numbers and some of the things you can do with them in Scratch. There are two types of data that you can store in variables in Scratch: numbers and strings. We'll focus on numbers in this video and come back to strings later. Computers use two different categories of numbers: integers and floating point numbers. Integers are numbers that do not use a decimal point, like 3, 2,765, and -47. Floating point numbers use a decimal point to represent a fractional part of the number, like 5.2, 0.497, and -2.01. A number like 8.0 is a floating point number, even though its fractional part is 0. In Scratch, numbers are usually treated as floating point data. When a number is a result of a calculation, Scratch will show the decimal part if it exists, but not if it is 0. For example, if you add 2.5 and 2.5, the result will be displayed as 5, not 5.0. If you divide 5 by 4, the result will be 1.25, a floating point number, even though you used two integers in the divide block. All of this means that when you do calculations in Scratch with numbers or variables containing numbers, you don't need to worry about whether you're using integers or floating point numbers in most cases. So, what can you do with numbers? A lot! Numbers are all over the place in video games. In Scratch, numbers are used to keep track of your hero's location, direction, and size, but also which costume they're using, their graphical effects like color and pixelate, their distance to other sprites, and many more things as well. Of course, there's plenty of math to be done in making a video game. After all, mathematics is one of the elements of fun. In Scratch, the operators category is full of blocks that take care of math for us. Let's take a look at some of them. Naturally, you can add, subtract, multiply, and divide numbers in Scratch, and that's what the plus, minus, multiplication, and division blocks are for. The plus block adds two numbers. The minus block subtracts two numbers. The multiplication block multiplies two numbers together, and the division block divides one number by another. We can also compare two numbers with the greater than, less than, and equal blocks. The greater than block reports true if the number on the left is bigger than the number on the right. If it's not, it reports false. The less than block works the other way around. It reports whether the number on the left is smaller than the one on the right. The equal block reports whether its two numbers are precisely equal. These all report just true or false, so they're perfect for the condition slot of an if-then block. Scratch works with positive and negative numbers, but there doesn't seem to be a negative block to convert one to the other. How should we get around this? Well, consider what happens when you subtract a number from 0. If the number is positive, you get a negative number. If it's negative, you get a positive number. Knowing this, we can subtract any number we want from 0, and the result is the same as negating that number. There are many other mathematical operations that you can use to manipulate numbers in Scratch, but these ones are the most common. Let's learn how we can make a sprite accelerate across the screen as if it were propelled by a rocket. We'll start with a new Scratch project. To begin, we'll need a hero we can move as if by jet propulsion. You can use the default cat sprite if you like, or you can delete it and choose a different one. In any case, set the hero's direction to 0 and click the Do Not Rotate option on the right side of the direction picker. Drag the hero sprite to a location at the bottom of the game window. In the previous video, we talked about how we can use the Move block to move a sprite in the direction it's facing. Putting the Move block inside a forever loop will cause it to make its way across the screen on its own. Let's set this up now. Click the light yellow Events category on the left and find the Start block in the block palette. Drag it into the code area. Then click the gold Control category and find the Forever block in the block palette. Drag it into the code area and attach it to the bottom of the Start block. Next, click the medium blue Motion category on the left and find the Move block in the block palette. Drag it into the code area and drop it inside the mouth of the Forever block. If you click the green flag, your hero will move across the screen at a constant speed. But when a rocket moves, it starts out slowly and gets faster and faster as it goes. In other words, it does not move at a constant speed. How do we accomplish this? We can try putting a larger number in the Move block. This will make it move faster, but we want it to continue to get faster while the game is running. This means we need to change the speed again and again during the game. This looks like another job for a variable. Click the orange Variables category on the left, and then click the Make a Variable button. Name the variable Hero Speed. This new variable should be set once right after the game begins. Find the Set block in the block palette, drag it into the code area, and attach it between the Start block and the Forever block. Make sure that Hero Speed is selected from the variable drop-down list. Whatever you set it to will be the initial speed of your hero, but it will begin changing as soon as the game starts. Now find the Hero Speed Reporter block in the block palette. Drag it into the code area and drop it in the value field of the Move block. Next, find the Change block in the block palette. Drag it into the code area and attach it to the bottom of the Move block inside the Forever block. Make sure that Hero Speed is selected from the variable drop-down list. The number you set in the Change block's value field will determine how quickly the hero accelerates. A larger number will cause them to get faster at a faster rate. For now, set it to 0.1. When you click the green flag, the hero will start out slow, but pick up speed as they move up the screen. Have fun experimenting with different numbers in the Set and Change blocks. What happens if you use a negative number in the Set block and a positive number in the Change block? Another way to cause rocket-like motion involves multiplication. Let's try it out. So far, we have observed that even when we start with a speed of 0, we can apply a small change again and again and again to cause our hero to get faster and faster. This new method will cause them to accelerate at an even quicker rate, but it won't work if our initial speed value is 0. In the value field of the Set block, enter the number 0.01. What do you get when you multiply a number by 1? The result is the same number you started with. But What do you get when you multiply a number by another number that's a little bit bigger than 1? You get something that's a little bit bigger than what you started with. This is what we want to do to our hero's speed again and again as long as the game is running. Delete the change block by dragging it from the code area and dropping it in the block palette. Then find the set block in the block palette. Drag it into the code area and attach it where the change block used to be at the bottom of the move block inside the forever block. Make sure that hero speed is selected from the variable drop-down list. Next, click the green operators category on the left and find the multiplication block. Drag it into the code area and drop it in the value field of the set block inside the forever block. We're going to set the hero speed variable to be the result of multiplying two numbers. In the right value field, enter the number 1.1. On the left, we want to use whatever number is already in the hero speed variable. So click the orange variables category on the left and find the hero speed reporter block in the block palette. Drag it into the left value field in the multiplication block. Drag the hero sprite back to the bottom of the game window and then click the green flag. This method starts out slower than the previous method, but it sure ends up faster. Let's go over what we covered in this video. First, we learned that Scratch uses two different data types, numbers and strings. Next, we learned that computers use two different types of numbers, integers, which do not use a decimal point, and floating point numbers, which use a decimal point to represent a fractional part. Then we covered the most common blocks we use when doing math in Scratch: the plus, minus, multiplication, and division blocks, as well as the greater than, less than, and equal blocks for comparing numbers. We learned how to find the negation of a number in Scratch by subtracting that number from 0. Finally, we used our knowledge of numbers in Scratch to learn how to accelerate a sprite across the screen as if by rocket propulsion. In the next video, we'll learn about a mathematical concept called the Cartesian coordinate system.